Hello, everyone. This is Thomas Pepin, NHL Talk. I'm Thomas Pepin, and let's talk about the NHL. So, today is a continuation of my Be a Real NHL GM series. So, where I basically take a look at the main moves I would make to improve different NHL franchises. Um, and so that'll cover the major moves I would make, not the minor moves, because in effect, the minor moves would be relatively consistent. So it might be the same player that I would choose for pretty much any team, kind of thing. So, like for a fourth line player or whatever. Um, so the point is to cover the main things that I would do that I think would improve a franchise. Um, so as always, unscripted, unprepared, except for the topic. Um, And so I don't know what the answer is, and we shall figure that out together. So today is the Dallas Stars. And as previously, I used the Armchair GM uh, tool. Interactive features, what they call it on the cat friendly website. And so that does a lot of the calculations and stuff for you. So it saves things from being too complicated. Um, And then otherwise, I excuse me, am I referencing the algorithm that I use for sports betting. So that gives me an idea of uh, valuation of players um, from expected scoring from the calculations I've done. So, um, yes. And there's one last thing I needed to pull up. I forgot to do before I started. Super. Okay. So I already know that Dallas has a lot that I would want to change. Previously, I forget what I gave them. So I did a series on evaluating the cap management of each franchise. Um, Give me one second. I will pull it up. So what I was going to say is that I'm pretty sure I gave Dallas a good rating. Yeah, so I gave them an A grade. Now, does that mean that I don't think there's anything wrong with their franchise? Uh, no, actually, I think there's a lot that they need to change. But all things considered, what they had done to come to their roster at this point in time was everything I would have done. So, um, an example, but we'll kind of see this in a couple moments, is like um, Jamie Benn. So at the time of his contract, he was great, and he was signed for an appropriate amount based on his performance. But the problem is that that performance has dipped since. So then, how exactly can you account for that? You can't. Like when you sign a contract with a player, you assume that that performance is going to continue, and all indications were that his performance was going to continue, and then he kind of dropped off. Same with Seguin or Seguin or however you want to pronounce his name. Uh, and yeah, it's a problem you run into, but you still could have made the correct decision at the time of the contract. Um, so that's where at the time when I did that video, they had done everything that they should have done. The problem is that the franchise isn't or could be better. We'll say I was going to say isn't good enough, but it's not the worst. Not the best either, but anyways, so we will start. Where will we start? think start with the low-hanging fruit. Um, oh, shoot, yeah, I forgot. So what I'm supposed again, as you can see, this is on the spot, so I forgot about one step in the process. So what I'm supposed to do before I start to make my decisions is talk about the GM and track record. So my bad there. So Jim Nill is the GM. He's been GM there for 9.5 years now, which is a long time. Um, and his track record during that time frame, so it started 2013. So since he came in, they lost in the first round after his first full season, missed the playoffs, lost in the second round, missed the playoffs, lost in the second round, lost in the final, missed the playoffs, lost in the first round. Uh, so in 9 seasons, is that 9 seasons? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 seasons. Missed the playoffs 4 times, lost in the first round twice, lost in the second round twice, and lost in the final once. So really, the performance isn't that bad uh, compared to like other ones that I covered already. Um, at least they got out of the first round a couple times, like well, more than a couple times. But um, so if you have, which is essentially the case here, half the times you miss the playoffs, you'd want to have better performance in the times that you do make. And in this case, at least 3 years of the 9 years they went past the first round, which is pretty good. Um, and then getting to the finals the one year against the Lightning there, um, pretty good, I would say, all things considered. Now, not I would say not good enough to necessarily be secure in your job, which is why I'm taking a look at this team to begin with. So I'm choosing all the teams where I think a change is probably due, where they've been in their role for a while and they should probably make a change. So in this case, it's not the worst performance, but in 9 years, you got to the final, which is very good, but missing half the years out of the first round, a couple more years, like, I mean, that's a bit too much. Um, Not the worst, like I said, but not good enough as far as I'm concerned. So that's the reason why we're going through with this. And now I can start to actually make the decisions on the team. So, uh, like I was saying before, start with the low hanging fruit, which I believe is going to be Miro Heiskanen. Um, I'm nearly certain I'm going to want to trade that. Excuse me. So 8.4 million. My rule for defensemen is unless you're the best defenseman in the league, I wouldn't be paying over 5 to 6.5. The only exceptions would be somebody like Makar, as I've said previously, and Heiskanen's not Makar. So, um, best year of performance is 36 points in 70 games. This year is on a roll, 9 points in 11 games at this point in time. Had the 1 year in the playoffs. This is when they got to the final where he was a stud, 26 points in 27 games. That's huge in the playoffs. Um, So it's not to say that he's not a good player, and it's also not to say that he's not worth his contract because the market value of a guy like this would be around this price. So I'm not saying that he's not worth the contract. I'm just saying I wouldn't pay the contract and I wouldn't have that contract on the books because I don't think you're getting good enough value um, where you could be spending almost the same money, maybe even less, and still get a greater offensive contribution from a forward, for example. Now, of course, I'm not factoring in defensive play and puck movement and things like that that come from strong defensemen. Um, but I would still argue, nonetheless, if you can get uh, a defenseman that can produce at a high level at a lower salary, in all likelihood, their general performance would be, or general value, I guess I should say, would be better. So that's my opinion. So Heiskanen is out. He's got 7 years left on an 8-year contract. Lots of people would like him, so it's not going to be hard to trade that. Question is, who would be a good trading partner for him? Does he have a clause? No. So nothing preventing a trade to pretty much anywhere. Who needs a defenseman and can afford a defenseman? So from previous streams, uh, my go-to in this case was Colorado. So what I did previously was trade for um, Eric Johnson and then pick up whoever the guy is because Colorado has some cap space and could, in theory, afford the guy. But I don't want to just go back to the same answer every time. So I'm going to try to figure out an alternative. Let's do it this way. So what I'm going to do now is try to find an underperforming defenseman based on their contract. So let's see. And then, so what my, or should I do that in this case? Dallas has, and am I going to trade those guys? So actually, I should address this first. So I don't think that the Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn contracts are going to be movable. I think they're too expensive and their performance is too low. So I think Dallas is going to have to ride out both of those contracts because I don't think anybody's going to pick them up for their performance. I would never do retained salary because I believe it extends longer than just the years left of the contract. I think I don't recall the exact details, but in any case, no matter what, I would never ever pay money for a player that's not even playing with you. It just makes no sense. It's a bad decision. I would rather have a team that doesn't perform and then just wait till the contracts are done because you just don't want uh, money sitting around uh, when you're getting nothing out of it. So, yeah. So neither Ben nor Seguin are going to be possible to be moved. So the reason that matters is because what I was going to say is I was going to bring in somebody where their contract expires to clear up cap space, and I just wanted to make sure that that was before I went ahead with it, that that was the correct move in this case. And so, because they're spending so much on those players, they are going to need to clear cap space, which is why Heiskanen needs to go to be able to bring in other players at a lower cost to be able to actually make a competitive team versus keeping as is, where you can't afford more players and you're stuck with whatever you can get out of the players you have, which is, as far as I can tell, and as far as I would predict, to be insufficient of winning a cup. And so the goal is to get as close as possible to be a competitive team. And the composition of money versus performance at this point is not good enough. So you need to clear out the cap space, which is why we're getting rid of Heiskanen. So now the question is do we take so Jamie Benz for 3 more years, Seguin is for 5. So we could pick up a guy with a 3 to 5 year contract that's older, or 1 year and then clear it out if we're trading defenseman for defenseman. And so, and then likewise, what we could do is trade for an underperforming forward that you get better value from. Because I think the defense is good enough without Heiskanen. And then pick up a forward that's overpaid for their performance that expires approximately the same time as Sege and Ben. I think that's probably the best route. Lindell, Suter, Colin Miller, is he any good? Yeah, good enough. Hakenpa, how do you pronounce that guy's name? He was a 4th round. His performance is mediocre, but I think he's serviceable. So we got 1, 2, 3. Lundqvist is a 1st round pick. He's probably good enough. And I'm nearly certain Hanley's good. No, not as good as I thought. So it was in the playoffs that 1 year that he was actually decent. But otherwise is pretty average. So we might need to pick somebody else up after getting rid of Heiskanen, but do they have any other defensemen out there? Is that Will Butcher from New Jersey before? Yeah. He's doing well in the AHL, so maybe. That's kind of borderline if we need to get rid of, or if we need to pick anybody up. But anyways, so Heiskanen, we will go for a forward, I think in this case is the goal. So undo what I was doing, and we're going to look at a forward that's underperforming. Taves. Kane would be outstanding to pick up. Expiring contract, though, you're not getting good value. And you're going to overpay for Kane, so it doesn't make sense to do that. Because, again, we want a team that's going to be good in the long run. You can't just do a short term for 1 year with a team that's not that good. It just doesn't make sense. You can't clear out your cupboards for one shot. Yeah, Seguin's right at the top of overpaid for performance. So that sucks. No, Jamie Ben's right at the top. See this? It's tough when you got a guy Jeff Skinner. How many years left for Skinner? Skinner has 5 years, so the same as Seguin. Buffalo has a lot of defense, though, I'm pretty sure. Dahlin, Lyubushkin, Power. They could maybe take him. Wait, Yokiharu, if that's how you pronounce it. Yeah, he's decent. And was a first round pick, and then Samuelson, second round pick. Also decent. I don't think they'd want him. That's a no. Who else do we have? I always feel like Toronto would trade one of their young guys for a good defenseman, because there's all these rumblings about Marner going, and Marner for Heiskanen would be somewhat realistic, you could say. So maybe we'll go back to that if I can't find anything else. Does Marner have a trade clause? Marner does not have a trade clause. Okay. So maybe Marner. I mean, realistically, Taves would be good. Maybe not good. I don't know what they would ask for Taves. It seems like you'd overpay and then it wouldn't be worth it. What else do we have? Voracek. That's not a bad idea. How much has Voracek got left? He's got 2 years. 33. Still performing decently well. So maybe Voracek. 2 years. And I'd rather have Voracek than have the Marner contract. As much as Marner's great, and as much as he's worth his contract on the market, I wouldn't ever pay that much unless it's like maybe Matthews, McDavid, Draisaitl. That's about it. So Voracek maybe. Wheeler makes sense. It's just not Winnipeg wouldn't want another defenseman. They've got too many. And he's got clauses too, so that wouldn't work. Not too many options here. Would Columbus take another defenseman? They could. They've only got the Werenski contract. I could see that happening. Or I should say that's the only main contract. Hmm. So more and more it's looking like Columbus is the best option, but we'll still have a look. None of them. Kevin Hayes, maybe. Nah, but Philly's got too many D anyways, so not realistic. Van Riemsdyk, but that would be a stupid trade. You'd really lose on that one. He's got 1 year left. Yeah, I really couldn't justify that. Unless he took. What does Philly have? Hmm. Yeah, I just don't think that a trade would actually fit. Gallagher? I like that. They're talking about trading a forward. Montreal likes defense. They're pretty thin on defense. I really like that idea. Hmm. 6.5 for Gallagher. He'd be a good playoff player. Oh, I really do like that one. I prefer that over Voracek. Yeah. Yeah, I think actually that one's exactly what I'm looking for. And I think they want to get rid of Gallagher, or at least they're not tied to him, because I don't think he got. So he got an assistant captain, and then Suzuki got captain, where Gallagher probably should have gotten it, or at least it's arguable that he should have gotten it. Yeah, and then I don't. He was signed by Bergevin before he left. So okay, so I think that could work. Let's pretend that it will, because Montreal would definitely win in that trade. Uh, we will do that because I think that would make Dallas an actual like it would increase their likelihood of being competitive in the playoffs. Regular season maybe lesser, but in the playoffs, I think that would make a huge difference. And it lines up with the Seguin contract. So then essentially you're running with what you got till that 5 year time frame, and then your whatever you can do is what you do, and then you rebuild is probably what is going to happen with Dallas. So we want Montreal. We want Gallagher. Oh, but he's got clauses. What's his clauses? 6-team no trade list. I don't think Dallas is going to be on that list. Yeah. So then yeah, I think it's doable then. Okay, so Gallagher and Dew. Is there anything else that they can get? Matheson, I think, just got picked up, didn't he? Yeah, in the off season there. So unlikely he's moving. Because I think it just Gallagher for Heiskanen, that's a huge win for Montreal. So I think so. The rule in this is that I have to have the team I'm representing lose the trade, but I think that's too big of a loss. So we need to have something uh, to sweeten the deal. What that is what I'm trying to figure out here. Um, hmm. Don't think that doesn't look like anybody. Edmondson's not going anywhere. Savard's not going anywhere. So maybe a forward. Armia, no. Dvorak, no. Hoffman would be nice, but I don't think they'd move him. Maybe they would. Dadonov, I know, is reasonable option too, but I don't think they. Oh, and he's really underperforming too. Huh. Do they still have Russians in Dallas? Only one. Huh. I think maybe that could happen. How much cap space does Dallas have? Not much. Is there anything else they could give up to clear space for Dadonov? 1.5 5 plus. That's a lot to make up for. Radek Faxa, is he tradable? Potentially. That we're not trading him. So maybe Faxa and excuse me, Heiskanen for Dadonov and Gallagher. I think that would happen because Faxa is performing better than or about actually this season about the same as Dadonov. Um, but I like the idea of Dadonov, and then Fax is less expensive than Dadonov for Montreal, so that kind of makes sense too. I think that would work. I think in that trade, Dallas loses, and I think it's a clear loss. It's close, but I'm pretty sure that would work out. So we'll say Dadonov and Gallagher for Heiskanen and Faxa. How many years does Faxa have left? 3. And Dadonov is 1. I think that would happen. I think. And then what's the cap change? It's essentially perfect. Okay, so I think this would work because I'm pretty sure Montreal clearly wins in this trade. I think they'd give up those 2 players, especially Dadonov because he's performing poorly right now. And just to get Heiskanen, basically. I'm nearly certain that would work. So we'll pretend that goes through. So Gallagher and Dadonov from Montreal for Heiskanen and Faxa from Dallas. And I'm just going to, while I'm at it, update my algorithm with these players. Who was it here? So it's Dadonov. Oh, wait, I should do that first. 306 819 was Dadonov. Gallagher. And then get rid of Heiskanen. So already just assuming that trade would happen, Dallas's performance increases by nearly half a goal per game, according to my algorithm. So that's a huge win for Dallas. But I think in the real world, I think that trade would actually happen. I think it's a win for Dallas. I think other people would argue that it isn't, but according to the numbers here, for my calculations, I think it's a win for Dallas. And like I said, it lines up with what we're trying to accomplish here. So that's good. Now, I think Dallas needs a defenseman now to fill that spot. I don't think there's going to be any other moves than just to bring in a new defenseman. So we've got Ben Seguin, Pavelski. We'll put. How's he doing this year? Because he's really consistent. I'm just wondering how he's doing. Yeah, point per game again as normal. He's outstanding. So he's probably first line. So I'm just going to adjust the lines here to make sense. So Pavelski, Robertson. Which way does Robertson shoot? He is a left shot, so probably left wing. How's Gurianov doing? He shoots left. He's not doing that good, so he's probably not on that line. Which way does Dadonov shoot? Because I think he's a right winger. No, he's both, and he's a left shot. Jeez, that's a lot of left shots. Kivy Ranton, no. Rope Hintz, I know he's played well. He shoots left again. He's doing really well. So then he's probably up with Robertson. We'll assume Robertson plays. Yeah, because he can play right, it says here. Hintz can play left. So it's Hintz, Pavelski, Robertson, Ben, Seguin, and how's Marchman doing? He's doing well enough. Seguin shoots right so and Ben shoots left. So we'll put this is just I should say for me to kind of wrap my head around the lines to see if we need to do anything else. Oh, we have Gallagher. I forgot about that too. So Hintz, Pavelski, Robertson, Ben, Seguin, Gallagher. Oh, maybe that's not possible. In any case, we want Gurianov and Dadonov on the same line, probably, because they speak the same language, and I think that would improve Dadonov's performance and Gurianov in the end. He shoots left. So who can play center? Ben Seguin, Heiskanen, Marchman. Huh. Well, we might have to split up another line here. Hintz, Pavelski, Robertson. That sucks. Well, anyways, it's details. We'll put Delandria up there. Dadonov, Delandria, Gurianov, Marchment, Glendening, Kiviranta, and then the rest. So that's good enough. Now we do need a defenseman. Lindell, Miller, Suter, Kanpa, Hanley, Lundqvist. You know what? Okay, so you could trade for somebody. Of course, that's an option. So they have Will Butcher in the minors that could come up. So worst case, oh, and Harley too, I think is relatively decent. Harley, um, yeah. So I think they have enough players as it is that could come up and down the roster to fill that spot. The defense is going to clearly be weaker, but the offense substantially better. So to fill the spot and be functional, they can just bring up guys. They could, in theory, also trade for a guy, but I don't think it's worth it unless you can get a guy for dirt cheap. So, I don't get why they have Kudobin in the minors because isn't he playing? He's played okay. I don't get that. Is Wedgwood that good? He's been okay. Anyways, so they don't really need to do anything with their goaltending. In theory, they could trade Wedgwood to pick up a defenseman and then bring up Kudobin. I mean, that's probably what I would do. But I don't think a normal GM would. They'd probably keep Wedgwood. Do they even have any other goalies? That Shield names rings a bell. Is he? No. Confusing names. So I think so. In any case, so I think they should get another defenseman. I think you could do that through the waivers potentially because some guys have gone through and haven't been claimed. Likewise for another forward, if you wanted to, that's probably what I would do for a defenseman. Keep it as is. You got enough guys that can come up from the AHL. If you really feel like you have to make a move, trade Wedgwood and then bring up Kudobin and trade Wedgwood for a defenseman. That's probably an option there. I mean, otherwise, I think that covers what I would do. You could trade Glendening maybe for defenseman. Kiviranta maybe for a defenseman. You got some options there, but I didn't think that it would be this quick and easy to make the team what I would prefer. Are there any free agent defensemen still sitting out there? Let's have a look. Anisimov's, is he not signed? He was on a tryout, but I guess wasn't signed by anybody. That's crazy. He's a guy you could pick up in theory. Let's see. Jason Demers, is he reasonable enough? So he's playing in the AHL right now, so no. Bartkowski is playing in the AHL. Not good enough. Prosser hasn't played for a while. Healy isn't any good. So no defenseman on the free agency. So I'd say, yeah, waiver wire to pick up another defenseman. You could run with what you have if you wanted to. You'd probably be okay. Forwards are going to be substantially better. Goaltending's good. I think it's a better team. So really, there's not really anything else I would do. Like I said, you could maybe trade somebody to pick up a more serviceable defenseman if you really felt like you needed to, but I don't think you need to. I'd just run with what you have. Okay, and then so given that, that's all I would do. But what I want to now look at is how the trade would impact their spot here. So according to my algorithm, they've improved by 4.3, about 4.2 and a bit goals per game. That puts them up to up to 13th in the league for scoring, whereas currently, from my algorithm, they're 25th. So that's a big leap. I think, yeah, and then that makes them, as far as I'm concerned, that would make them competitive for the duration of the time for Gallagher. Now, the thing is you get the Dadonov contract expires this year. So that's $5 million that comes off the books that you could use to sign anybody. It could be a defenseman in the offseason, forward, whatever you decide to do. I think Pavelski's contract also expires, but you'd want to keep him because he's still good, even at his age. So you could probably get him for less money than his current 5.5. You have to re-sign Hintz, and Hintz is going to want to increase his salary. Gurianov, probably not an increase. It's going to be about the same, I'm guessing. Maybe a slight increase. So in the end, you'll probably have still about $5 million in cap space. Yeah, as far as I can tell, you'd still have about $5 million in cap space. Well, and then on top of it, you're losing the Khudobin contract. So 5 to 7 million in cap space that you could sign somebody in the off season. And this is also including the increase to Hintz's salary. So yeah, 5 to 7 million you have in the offseason. You can sign a defenseman if you want to. I think let the young guys develop. Probably leave it as is probably fine in Dallas. Add in another guy, or you could re-sign Dadonov if he works out well, but he's low risk, 1 year at 5 million, and he's performed well before. So in theory, so previously he had where is he here? I think it was 20 some odd goals a year. So on average, he gets 20 to 28 goals a year. So he's got no points in 10 games this year. He's probably going to turn it around. Playing him on a line with another Russian player, probably going to make him happy. He'll probably play better. Likewise for Gurianov, and Guryanov's played well previously. He's had 10 to 20 goals. So you could re-sign Dadonov as well and sign somebody else still. So maybe Dadonov at 2-something million, and then if he's good, maybe at 5 million again. So I think it gives you lots of options. lots of flexibility. You're running with the team, like I said. So the strategy here is basically you're setting up this franchise to run for 5 years. After that, it's probably going to be a rebuild unless you can draft well, um, get free agents and things like that, because they're going to be in a tough spot. Yeah, basically, yeah, it's a 3 to 5 year time frame that they have a chance to compete. Unless you draft really well, you're kind of going to be in a tough spot. Um, so that would be my strategy. And it's just surprising that in the end, it can all be accomplished through one trade. Now, just to recap, that trade was Heiskanen and Faxa for Gallagher and Dadonov from Montreal. And I'm nearly certain that would work. It's basically dollar for dollar. Montreal, Dadonov hasn't played well in Montreal this year. So Montreal would be probably comfortable in getting rid of him. Also, he just has 1 year left. So why would you be like you wouldn't? He doesn't have that much value. Um, Gallagher, I think maybe they would be hesitant to trade him, but if you're getting Heiskanen as the centerpiece back, I think it's a no-brainer because that's a huge improvement to Montreal's defense, which isn't the best at the moment. So they want to get rid of a forward. Gallagher's not young anymore. Heiskanen is young. It makes tons of sense. And then Fax is kind of just dollar for dollar to make it make sense. Fax is serviceable, fills in the spot, the one forward spot that you lose from getting rid of Gallagher and Dadonov. It makes sense to me. I think it would work for Montreal. I think Montreal at least superficially wins the trade, but according to the what I value and how I would want to manage the team, I think Dallas actually wins in the trade for what you're trying to accomplish, across the whole franchise. So, um, surprising through one trade that it's done. I thought it would be more complicated. So, I think that covers it. So, again, to summarize, Dallas has a 3 to 5 year time frame where it's either they win or they got to rebuild. The only chance to get around that is by drafting well, which I would say is just statistically unlikely. And so Dallas is probably going to have to rebuild. So just run. You can't trade away Seguin or Ben. Uh, Pavelski could be gone, could stay. We'll see. I think, yeah, you're stuck with those contracts, so you just kind of have to run with what you got, and then as a result, you're gonna have to rebuild. So there's not really any way around it. Um, so that's kind of it. So thanks for tuning in. If you like this stream, hit the like button, share. Otherwise, subscribe, turn on notifications. This stream time so far through 2 days has been way better for me. Uh, so 1 p.m. Eastern looks like it's going to stick unless something changes in my scheduling and whatever. Um, so yeah, although obviously I would like you to subscribe, you can always check the home page of my channel. That'll tell you, but you can pretty much rely on the fact that it's going to be 1 p.m. Eastern until I tell you otherwise. And it's going to be most days unless I tell you otherwise, or something comes up where I just can't make it. And yeah, finally, if you have any suggestions for topics or any feedback, don't be shy, leave them in the comments. And I think that's it. So tomorrow we are going to be, I believe, continuing the series. Yeah, so the next 2 days we're going to be continuing the series for 2 more teams. That you can see on my homepage, but since I have it up, it's Calgary and Boston. And then we're taking a pause from that and then re-continuing after that one day off, not off of streaming, but on a different subject, which is just a since I'm on this subject now, it's a review of the season up to the 20% mark. So anyway, so that's kind of the plan. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again tomorrow.